Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is most definitely not intended for children. It is definitely an adult theme. There will be strong language. Today we are recognizing International Sex Workers Day. So, with us here today, we have, of course, Godless Sewing.
Yay!
And returning after some long absence, we have Bionic Dance.
Hi, everybody.
And in the side chat, I'm seeing Nerdy Rodent, Godless Granny, and DOG.
Hey, dog.
And there's Jen.
Is this
Jen providing us with some nice scenery again.
Not all that great today, but it's the only place I could sit and find some wind. Because it's really hot and sticky here today. Well, you know, Perp.
Not that bad here, but I haven't been outside yet.
I was outside this morning, but it still looks like Seattle out there, despite being in Southern California. I don't know what the temperature is going to do or the weather, but it usually gets sunny around noon.
I didn't get a look at who's here. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
Who else is here?
It's me.
We've got Will and Kate here.
Hi.
Hi. This has been one of the most unseasonable, Southern California almost summers I've ever experienced. It should be hot and I should be half clothed, but it's windy and muggy.
Well, I mean, since I've moved here, what has it been, 5 years already? Anyway, point is that we do get May gray and June gloom here. So it tends to be kind of iffy until August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In the LA area, it's desert conditions. We have we have 2 seasons, kind of cold in summer.
Kate, where are you again?
San Diego.
Really? It's like that? I'm surprised.
Well, I mean, it usually, like I say, burns off by noon, but it really honestly looks like Seattle out there right now.
Huh.
Yeah, it's been a weird. I don't know. When I was younger, it was hot all the time. So as I've gotten older, weather changes, and I'm like, oh, I'm scared. But the weather, we can't predict the weather. I like it because it's a bit more mild this year. Plants are still growing. I'm okay with it.
Well, it's funny how the weather here, throughout the year, is almost exactly opposite from Seattle. We have about 2.5 months of clouds. And then the rest of the time it's sunny, where in Seattle, seriously, reverse those proportions.
I lived in Oregon in my early 20s. In my first year there, they counted the days the sun came out. It was definitely culture shock for someone who's used to nothing but sunshine.
What was the record? Any idea?
Oh, for consecutive days?
Sure.
Of sunshine, I think 25, 30.
Oh, wow.
That particular year was really weird when I moved up there. It was really cloudy. And then when the summer hit, they had a wildfire that burnt, and it was 104. So I felt like I was at home. And then the North reminded me it was the North when winter came.
Yeah, I was raised in Vermont. I know winter all too well.
Oh, see, my thing, it's if you're from there, you're okay with it. I've done a lot of traveling in my day. I get made fun of for wearing a coat under 60 or 50 degrees. I will have a sweater on, at least a sweater.
Well, I'm definitely not okay with it. Cold, my circulation is kind of weird. The further you get from my core, the thinner my veins get, so I don't actually heat myself. And as a result, every winter in Vermont was genuinely painful. I was in pain all the time. Every time I left the house, my fingers and the tip of my nose and the tips of my ears were all just it didn't matter how much I wrapped them up. They hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Northerners love to laugh at people from the warmer climes and their sensitivity to cold. Nobody's picking on you in particular, but we sure like picking on people from Alabama, for example. But we can get them for a whole bunch of other stuff. But you guys should harass us more for being wussies if it's over 70 degrees.
I had an ex-girlfriend who was from Norway, and she would, when it was hot outside, it was procedure. She had her sunglasses on. She had a big floppy hat. She had to put full sunscreen on. So, people from colder climates, they do suffer down here at least.
Well, what knocks me out is in the middle of summer, it could be 90 degrees Fahrenheit out here, and you will see people with like mid-thigh length down coats on, and I don't get it.
Sometimes it's fashion over function.
Yeah, but I would just like dehydrate from how much sweating I'd do. I mean, it'd be crazy.
No, I agree. That's like people who wear skull caps all the time, like stool. Like, I know people who wear caps like that when it's hot. That's a good way to get zits, and the 90s are over. As someone who lives in the past.
Oh, I saw a guy walking around like a year or two ago where he actually had his jeans belted around his thighs. And I was like, I thought that was over. And I don't need to see your boxers hanging out either.
Oh, that bothers me. I'm obsessed with fashion, but like with the way pants are made today, they're made boot cut where you can wear them all the way up and they're still baggy all the way at the bottom. I never got the sagging thing because I had a parent who was involved and was like, no, you're not allowed to do that.
Will, I think we're getting a bit of an echo from you.
Let me put my headphones in.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, my parents never got on my case about what I wore, but I was always like jeans and t-shirt anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty much
wonder,
for me too.
because I was raised by egalitarian hippies. I wonder how far I could go before they'd say, yeah, you can't wear that.
My pops was really open. He was like total Vietnam vet era, but he wasn't like the stereotypical vet. He was really open-minded. But like when rap music came out, he didn't like the N-word. So he was like, that was his big thing, was like, no. He because he came from the apartheid South. He was from, 1950s Georgia. It was culture shock for him to hear young people of color saying that,
Okay.
So that,
Hey, Will, can I, since we have touched on the subject, can I ask you a racial type question?
sure, but Perp wants to go back to the.
Well, let Jenny ask her question.
Oh, okay. Actually, it was last year when I first heard about it, but this is the first year where I've actually seen stuff on the web that I read and special on TV that explain and discuss it. Did you know about the Tulsa thing when you were a kid? Did your parents teach that to you? Because I have never heard about it until a year or two ago.
Yes. I still have the very book that I read as a kid.
Okay.
But it's because my dad was like, he was proud of who he was, but he was one of those people, like, he made something of himself, so he was like, we have to learn the lessons from the past to not repeat them. So he taught me a lot of things as a kid, but it was more of like, these people did this. I got lucky. My dad told me not to hate people, and he grew up in apartheid South. So I got lucky because he could have easily, he was in Vietnam from 1957 until 1972. He could have easily taught his kids hatred, and he chose not to. So yes, and I got lucky.
Yeah, I even went to what I've realized was a really progressive school system at the time, but I had not heard about the Tulsa until I was in an interracial relationship.
Yeah, I seem to
remember.
So,
yeah, it's something that, they just did not teach in suburban white schools at all.
I don't remember a lot about Tulsa. I know I definitely didn't hear about the incident. But like, I think everything I know about it, they might have mentioned it once in like Ghostbusters or something, but I might be thinking of Tunguska. So.
Oh, I have to check that now. I think I love your factoids. That's awesome.
Well, I know there was some weird, like unexplained blast in Tunguska, but it sounds enough like Tulsa that I might be thinking of another incident. I don't know what, but Yeah.
So Kanduska, is that the naval yard?
So to be fair, when you get near certain states, everything all the names are kind of close.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like in Washington State, there's, Snoqualmie, Snohomish, and all of those, that they all sound very similar.
Oh, that's like Hill in Oregon. Everything is Hillsboro, Hill this, Hill that.
Everything in Minnesota is Dale.
Exactly. Where's Chip when you need him? Okay, so we're here to talk about sex workers.
We've got a good-sized audience now. We've had Alias Fake Name and Soft Girl and Ox join us.
Oh,
so yeah, let's get on with the topic of the day. That today is International Sex Workers Day. And I think in our community, we've pretty much got a consensus on it that runs contrary to the populace opinion. That I think most people in our community are pretty much okay with sex workers and think that they need more respect and more protections.
So I'm 100% like Peter Tosh, legalize it.
What was that, Trini?
I didn't say nothing.
Oh, no, okay, that was me. I said certainly. I'm agreeing with you.
Do you think a Vegas style, so in Las Vegas, you have to be over 21. You show up. You have to register yourself as a business and say, hey, like you have to get an actual card saying like, I'm in this business. And then it's legal from that point.
Wow.
But you have to pay taxes. The whole point is to pay taxes.
We need license for all sorts of tradesmen. Plumbers, electricians, even carpenters are supposed to be licensed to work in other people's houses. So, I could see a system on a similar line because that way, then they could check certain requirements, like making sure that people had regular checkups and such.
Controlled, again, when it's regulated, you don't have pimps, you don't have madams, you don't have people bringing people to this country.
Well, that's always been my position, that most of the problems people talk about with prostitution really have nothing to do with the prostitutes. The problems are almost entirely with the pimps.
Yeah, there's a lot of keeping people addicted to drugs to keep them in your umbrella, that kind of thing.
It is
because the pimps can do anything they want to control them and abuse them, and they've got no recourse. The prostitutes can't go to the police and report their pimp. So and I think if they just had that ability, if they could go to the police and know that the police would actually arrest the pimp for abuse instead of arresting them, I think that would alleviate most of the problems right there.
I agree.
It's funny, my first thought was actually about the health of the sex workers, STDs and crap.
Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing.
I was saying that if they were licensed, there could be requirements for them to, have regular checkups to make sure that they're not spreading STDs.
That's another thing in Vegas.
That's the model they're using in Australia.
And Las Vegas as well. I forgot to mention that. So basically, it's completely regulated in Vegas. And if you bring a minor across state lines, you get life in prison. There's quiet. Yeah, there's quiet. Yeah, I actually saw a really cool documentary about it. And there's this guy from LA. He's like, I'm an idiot, and I will be in prison for the rest of my life because I brought a minor across state lines.
Wow.
They don't play in Nevada.
Well, wait a minute. Now, hold on. I need some specifics on this one. When you say transporting a minor across state lines, I assume you mean specifically for sex work and not just I brought my cousin to Disney. Okay.
I can bring my kid to Circus Circus and we can go see kids go to Vegas all the time. The problem is when a 15-year-old man brings a 14-year-old girl for prostitution,
I just wanted to make sure we were talking about that because
it's my dude, bro, surfer. Like I'm total Southern California. Details, what are those? But they don't. Teddy knows. They don't mess around in Nevada, and I kind of use that as a model because anywhere else it's chaos. You'll get like the seedy side of town or trigger warning. I have within the past year seen a man basically kidnap a woman on the street, yell at her like, "Get the F in my car," blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no. And he's like, "I'm going to off you." And then she gets in the car. It's one of the most gross, like gut-wrenching things. Like, ugh.
I have to admit, like, one thing that has really turned me off from things like sex work and porn and all of that is how it always has to be sleazy. You know, it always has to have that wrong side of the tracks feel. You know, it's always, "I'm a dirty girl, I'm so nasty." You know, there's never like loving porn. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm sure there is. I agree with you 100%.
Actually, there is, and there was a period in the late 90s when there were more women getting into directing the porn. And in those, you had them that they were more like romance novels that had porn scenes.
Right.
And I'm not gonna out myself more than anyone already knows, but there is porn where, and I'm talking about dudes where people are just hugging.
Well, that's another thing I wonder about with prostitution, because honestly, like, I'm demisexual already. I don't really get into sex unless I'm romantically attracted. So I would probably never like patronize a prostitute or a brothel or whatever they have. Do people kiss prostitutes?
No. It's a no.
Because honestly,
I'm sure people do.
Very difficult to have sex without kissing.
So I'm immunocompromised. Like, I need to see that you don't have a cold from a doctor before. So I don't even like when strangers touch me. I'm sure people make out with prostitutes, but it's a street thing of like where people don't do that. But I'm sure people do, you know. And also there's levels. Like there's there's the street prostitute, and then there's like, you know,
high price call girl.
Yeah, who's literally making more money in one night than some people will see in a year. Yeah. You know?
I don't know. It seems like one of the most pointless prostitution transactions there would be like lesbian prostitution. I mean, it just doesn't seem like, I mean, okay, granted, you could get someone to just eat you out or whatever, but I mean, I don't know. It seems like you could get a one-night hookup for that at a bar.
Some people get escorts to hang out with them. They want to be seen with a really attractive woman or man, and so they'll hire an escort to make them look better. That's not rare at all.
Aren't there escorts,
that's the thing.
Legitimate escorts, and that's all they do is escort, not fuck?
Yeah.
But that's kind of like when you walk into
I've never heard of an escort who wasn't ultimately leading to sex. That like seems to be part of the job.
But my fiance, before I had met her, my fiance had been a professional dominatrix. And, you know, a lot of that involves guys hiring her for the kink, and actually a lot of them just hiring her for really long conversations. And it was very rarely sexual. Because she was a lesbian. She had no interest in any kind of sex with men.
Well, you know, I wouldn't mind getting paid to just be someone's whining target. I know there's another term for it, and I'm just blanking on it. But you know, being someone's like the one to whom they engage in catharsis for money, I'd do that. Just don't expect me to be a shrink.
And a lot of people do hire somebody for that, you know, especially if they're in a sort of relationship that they feel they like can't talk about their professional work with their partner for whatever reason.
It sounds like you're just talking about a shrink.
Well, I know someone that does it. They're non-professional, and she calls herself, get ready for it, a life coach.
Well, one of those.
And I'm not, you know, my thing is like I don't do bad investments, and so like she's a friend of mine. I respect her, and she makes money off of it. Yeah. So if some sucker wants to pay her to whine at her, like that's on them, you know. I'm jealous that someone won't do it for me.
It is the area of a lot of people, you know, that's a sexual therapist. You know, which again is a reason that, you know, the people should be licensed. That some of these people, it would be kind of another tier in it, that if they have actual psychological training to help with things.
Well,
And
can I interrupt here?
Well, can I just finish this?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Some people actually hire people to do what we regard as, kinky sex acts or role playing, to actually relive traumatic instances and as sort of a therapy session.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I've got some trauma in my life.
Jenny was up next.
Oh, okay.
Be careful when you use the term sex therapist. I know a number of sex therapists as friends and professional relationship in one case. A true sex therapist, to use that title, is a certified person who is generally at least a master's level or a PhD level person who has gone through specialized training and certification.
Yeah, well, I was saying sexual therapist to try and distinguish it.
I've never heard of a true sex therapist who has actually had physical sex with any of their clients. There may be out there, but I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, well, that's I was saying a sexual therapist rather than a sex therapist, but
Okay.
yeah, there would need to be some other distinctive title for it.
Okay, I'm done.
But I have some trauma in my life, but I do not want to relive it. I've never, that was the one thing that I guess I hated most about the 1990s was how everyone was wallowing in pathos and stuff. There was never any real optimism to it, and that bothered the crap out of me. But so when people talk about, I am reliving this traumatic incident in my life, I'm like, but why?
I agree. I try to use things as a lesson so I don't repeat them, but I'm not gonna go back and relive something that almost killed me.
Right. Yeah. I don't
way.
get the desire. It boggles me completely. I don't understand it.
I will say there's there are certain things you have to deal with. Like, I was in a really bad car accident where someone pulled out in front of me, and I was on the 126, which is a local highway that leads straight to the beach, and someone cut in front of me on a 2-lane highway, and my heart dropped, and I almost relived the moment. So I told myself, I have to deal with it, but I'm not gonna try to get in a car accident trying to get over it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go looking for trouble.
One thing I've seriously considered, wow, I completely lost my train of thought there. Oh well. Something about pain and doing stuff you shouldn't.
I do that all the time because I smoke J's during live streams.
Well, yeah, and I get for some things that some people feel to relive a particular experience in a controlled situation, can help them feel that they're regaining control over something that they couldn't handle at the time.
And I'm not a doctor.
I guess if you're acting it out to do it differently, okay, I guess I get it. But and I remember now what I was going to say. The only way that I would use some of the trauma that I have in my life is if I got into acting and I needed a way to make myself cry. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's very true.
That's what my trauma is good for. Otherwise, I would like to get over it. But I know some people where they just love their pain. I'm not sure. There's some people, I'm not sure they'd know who they are if they didn't have that pain to fall back on. It's doing heavy lifting for their otherwise lack of personality.
So they go full Lieutenant Dan, basically, in their whole life.
And I think these are people who really do need some kind of therapy to help them move on past that.
Yeah. I don't know.
See,
but I mean, I've said for years that I hate the 1990s. Maybe now that explains why a little bit.
Well,
yeah, and there was also that big thing of, people going back and either confronting or forgiving people in their past. And it's yeah, I really thought that whole thing was a bad idea from the start. Especially the thing of people, just digging up old stuff that was from 20 years before that the other people involved had probably long forgot about, just didn't appreciate it coming up again.
Oh gosh, I have family members who went into a certain program, and I'm at the point now where if you come to apologize to me about something from 20 years ago, I'm gonna hang up the phone on you.
Yeah,
I am not conducive towards your program.
Don't any of you have anything that you regret from long ago that you wish you could redo, or feel bad about what you did with other people or anything like that?
Oh, sure.
Because that's what that's
Yeah.
about. That some people.
But I
don't
also
know,
realize that
there's
some of these
nothing I can
people-
do about it, though, is the
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I realize that some of these people probably would not want it dredged up again either.
I like to move forward, and until we have viable time travel where I don't get entropic cascade failure, where I can walk up to myself and slap myself, I'm just gonna move on with my life.
Well, I mean, I do wish I could go back and fix certain things. That'd be nice, but I'll never understand the human inclination to forgive people who haven't earned it. You know,
Oh, yes.
who haven't said I'm sorry, who haven't said it was a mistake, from whom you have gotten exactly zero justice. I don't understand forgiving those people. To me, that seems like basically letting them get away with it and deciding it's okay what they
Agreed.
did. And
Well,
I can't do that. I just can't. I'm not built that
Yeah.
way.
I'm the
The
same
theory
way.
was that without forgiving people, some people couldn't move past it themselves. And yeah, I think that was addressing it the wrong way. I think those people needed some therapy, but, you know, just forgiving someone who did nothing to make amends, I don't think was real closure.
You shouldn't have to apologize to your abuser, though. Like if someone
Right.
abuses you, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to butt snorkel for that person. They should be kissing your butt. It shouldn't be like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you hurt me." No way. So I have I have a line in the sand.
Right. Yep.
You know.
Some
Oh, and you know
use-
which
some
people
use
absolutely need
forgiveness.
to be bitch slapped are the ones who, when they apologize, they say, "I'm sorry if you felt this way about what I said." No, I'm sorry about what I said. I'm sorry if you took it badly. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're not owning up to your own shit. So I
I've
don't
re-
forgive you in any fashion. Your apology is not accepted.
I've
Yep.
recently stopped talking to somebody for that very reason.
Sometimes people use forgiveness as a weapon against the other person involved. You know that and for self-aggrandizement. You know that I'm better than you because I can forgive you. You know that's pretty annoying when you see people doing that, and you don't know. It's just it's a sense from them. But I think now that you mention it, Kate, it's probably the same people who forgive for something that's not really what the forgiving issue is about. You know, I don't know how to describe it. Well, how you described it.
Well, and then you get the people who don't understand why what they did was a big deal. And so they like, you know, if they say that's not important to me, I don't care. And you're like, well, I kind of do.
Yep.
And you are affecting my life. So maybe, just maybe own up to your shit. Maybe you don't fart rainbows.
Excuse me. It's and that's another thing. I say this all the time. Jenny hates it. Personal responsibility. I know that I don't know everything. I like to ask questions. I know when I mess up. And I say, hey, I'm sorry. You know, a lot of people can't own up to even simple things. Like I recently asked someone to stop saying something and they basically said, oh, but you say it. And I'm like, but I asked you to stop. I have boundaries, you know? And they basically made me feel bad for having boundaries.
I mean, if I say it and you don't like it, you can speak up too, fella.
Yeah, you know, so I think, I don't know. It's one of those gray areas.
Well, I mean, I figure like I'm allowed to do anything to which you do not object. But if I object to something I'm doing that you don't mind, you kind of got to stop, and it's not hypocrisy on my part. You know, what you don't mind and what I don't mind are not the same thing.
Exactly.
You know, like that's one of the problems I actually have with, well, unfortunately, the more open-minded people is that they tend to think that rules should apply in every situation, regardless of context. And that's just not how the world works. You know, sometimes you got to be able to stick an if-then statement into your whatever you're deciding. You know, like if you decide to foment rebellion, you can be canceled, but if you didn't, you can't, kind of thing. Well, in this case, you know, if you don't mind me, you know, saying like, hey, how's my bitch, you know, then I'm gonna keep doing that if you're okay with it. But if I'm not okay with it, you should stop, even though I do it to you, because you're totally fine with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. And that's the thing too, is that people have to have communication. I've learned that if I speak up immediately, it clears all the air. So like months down the road, I'm not going to obsess over it and be mad when I'm like, hey, I told you not to do that, you know? I like to come with my disclaimers right out in the open and be like, hey, I'm this, and this, and you're going to hurt my feelings if you say this or this. And even though that I know I'm sensitive in certain situations, I even take things into context. Like, oh, okay, they're just joking. They're not being serious, you know? Because maybe I'm misconstruing what someone's saying. At least that's the hope. But, you know, communication is hard. You know, says the guy who got a divorce and lives, you know, by himself with his kid. Communication isn't easy, and as human beings, we go out of our way to act like we're experts about things that we're not. And then when you come across someone who is, people get offended.
I've seen that many times. And the worst, though, are the people who tell you what you mean, like they know better than you.
Oh, it drives me
like, you know, or when they won't accept clarification. You know, if they go, you said blah, and I said, okay, the literal words I use are these. This is what I meant by that particular phrase. They go, nope, you're defending my mistake, and that's all I'll hear from you is defending my mistake. You know, you have to own my straw man now.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, to which I tell them to go get bent. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. I only have tolerance to a certain point before I tell someone to kick rocks, because I like conversations like this where we're just talking, we're shooting the shit, and we're not like getting in pedantic fights over every single sentence we're saying.
We could.
I'm over it.
Well, one of my favorite expressions these days is clarification accepted. You know, if someone says to me, no, I meant this, I try to let them know I've taken it on board and will continue to speak to them now knowing what they meant and treating it as valid, or at least as what they meant, you know, instead of expecting them to cling to that mistaken idea I had, because that's just fucking bullshit.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's kind of all the most that we can ask for is for people to be able to listen, and if you just piss me off, I'm going to say I disagree with that, or you just pissed me off, or can you explain that further, or I don't understand. You know, that then it's a conversation. It's not a couple people throwing out edifications and things.
Yeah, well, I think what Kate just said there about the clarification accepted, I think is a good term. You know, that you acknowledge that you understood what they said, whether or not you agree with it is a separate point.
Yeah, I'm going to steal that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just, I mean, like, one of the quickest ways to piss me off is to not take me seriously. You know, like, or to not take me at my word. You know, like, here's what I was getting at. Nah. You know, and it's like, well, then why would I even talk to you?
Yes. This is a major point for me because not only do I not read body language, but because I never learned to imitate it, my body language is not normal. So it really pisses me off when people try to read something into what I said rather than just accepting what I actually said. because they will always get me wrong.
We're getting an echo, and I don't think it's me this time.
Let me turn my mic off and see if it's me. By the way, it would be easier to tell if it's me if you unmaximize Jenny.
Yeah. Well, I'm not hearing it when you're talking, Kate. So.
Oh, well, often, though, an echo is when someone else's mic is picking up what someone else is saying, so it could easily be me.
Okay, well, let's mute Kate for a moment.
I'm just eating my yogurt.
Okay, anybody hearing it now?
No.
I didn't hear it before.
I did hook up.
I didn't hear it before either, honestly.
I did put my fancy mic. I finally figured out my equipment. Only took me a year.
Okay, well, is anybody hearing it now? Everybody's unmuted.
No.
Okay,
No.
well, whatever it was, we're not hearing it now, so.
And sometimes it's just the web and its latency.
I have a discontinued PreSonus box, too. And this thing has failed me like 4 or 5 times, and it just chose to work last night.
You know, that's actually been one of the benefits of the COVID. So many television shows had gone to a Zoom type of situation, just like we do on our YouTube shows, and they have the same goddamn problems we do. So I think a lot of that is
and we have better equipment.
and they're all pros. So I blame the web. It's not you. It's not me. We're perfect.
Well, I'm sure some of it is just they couldn't get the producer to come into the studio. And so the stars are now having to try to figure out all the technical crap themselves.
True.
I mean, I'm only guessing, but
maybe
it's
it will have
guess.
I'm sorry. Maybe it will have advanced the science, and you know, people like Zoom and StreamYards will take it as a good lesson. And maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know if they will or if they'll just assume it's because people didn't know how to use their equipment, which is, you know, both are true.
The one thing I liked about StreamYards is that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I'm literally that meathead guy in the background in the 80s movie. Like I literally, and StreamYards is 2 buttons and I'm live. You know? So I like StreamYards, at least what they've done recently.
Can StreamYards run on the client version, or would that be the client version, or am I the client version? What Purple does? Could what Purple does be done on a phone?
Yeah, not easily, or not well, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been in quite a few shows where someone did it off their phone, and it just ends up where the guests have to take over because the phone cuts out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You basically have to have like top tier Wi-Fi or be like under, you know. So I've had this for a while. I just didn't have. I have Apple technology. And as someone who has nothing but Apple technology, run. Don't get Apple. This is an anti-endorsement.
I've been anti-Apple since the first Mac came out.
I am biased. Like I grew up with an Apple IIe. I used to play Reader Rabbit and Jeopardy on the old Apple IIes. I had like the first Mac. I'm biased, but I hate my computer. Last night, Jen and I were having a date. We're geeks. We watch sci-fi, and my computer decided to completely die for no reason.
Yep.
Didn't mess with anything. It just completely died.
I would not buy Apple just because they have to put the goddamn proprietary plugs on everything, so you can't use it with anything anyone else built.
And you can't open it up to upgrade it or repair it. You just have to buy another one or the newest model.
Yep. And they have all these weird widgets. Because I'm I call myself technosexuals because I hoard technology. But like they have, I won't bother you, but they have the weirdest widgets. Like the headphone jacks are spaghetti noodles, and they're easy to break. My job's kind of hardcore. I'm outside sometimes, and like I've been known to snap all kinds of things. So So Apple technology isn't the best. They make it to be pretty and to look nice and to sound nice, but if you want to edit or anything, you literally have to get a new computer.
I might need to get a good tablet soon, though, because I ordered this robot that's fairly advanced, and it's controlled over Bluetooth. And right now, all I have is my phone and my Kindle. So, I would need a proper tablet for that, but I don't have one yet. So, I can control it off my phone, but it sounds like really awkward, especially if you try to use the programming language.
Yep. I'm going to be getting a tablet just because Lego stopped putting controllers in with their robot sets, that now they're controlled by a tablet or a phone. So
I am so tired of everything being on a phone app. I find my phone so awkward to use, just as far as the interface is concerned. Like, I understand what I'm doing. It's just physically making my hands do it. My phone and I disagree on where my fingers land. It's very frustrating.
Yes.
Okay, yes, are Apple users a cult? I would say yes.
One of us.
I would say no. I'm an absolutely committed Apple user, and I'm not a cult because I don't listen to a damn thing they say. I have upgraded dozens and dozens of Mac computers and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of really heavy-duty fans, but a cult, no.
Okay.
One of us. I gripe a lot, but like, I have a newer desktop, and they just came out with a new desktop. I have a newer one, and it's actually really whiz bang, but it has a lot of issues.
I mean, I'll agree with all of you. Yeah, I don't really appreciate Apple connectors, although in some cases, for example, IEEE 1394, also known as FireWire, Apple invented it. It became the industry standard, and to this day, it's the fastest damn thing on the planet. Okay, their thing that they call Thunder or Lightning connector on their phones. It sucks donkey wang like crazy. I hate it. I just hate it. But I'm stuck with it, and I'll live with it as much as I don't want to.
It's an Apple graveyard in here.
If you want to talk about a computer cult, Linux users.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looking at you, nerdy.
I mean, like, seriously, talk to someone who prefers Linux, and it's maybe not exactly like talking to a cult member, but that flavor is sort of there.
I've always wanted to try Linux.
So, as a hardcore Trekkie, I agree. Because my parents took me to a con when I was a kid, and that made me bow at the altar of Roddenberry. So yes, the Trekkies are a cult.
See, I was a year and a half old when Star Wars came out, so that's sort of the direction I went. Yeah,
well, and what Sandy's pointing out here, that the reason Apple got to be so big really was that the early Macs beat out anything else available at the time for graphics. Except maybe the Amiga, and the Amiga just got a lousy launch campaign.
Kind of disagree. I mean, the early Macs were black and white at a time when, like, EGA and VGA were coming out. So
yeah, but the vast majority of people in those days were still living with the green and black text screen. So they really did kick ass.
I had a Coleco.
Got me to go to any computer. I said, "Geez, I can do that."
I had a Coleco Vision and an Apple IIe.
Maybe it's because I had a PC since the days when that tiny ass screen was integrated right into the case. But I've always been a little bit biased. That, and I liked having a command line for the longest time. Like I resisted the graphical UI forever, just because, like, There were a lot of times where I'm sitting there going, okay, if this was DOS, I could type this command from anywhere. But now I have to dig through menu after menu after nested menu option just to find that one simple ass command I could do before.
And I still hate the mouse interface for that. Because I can never find what submenu of what menu a feature's supposed to be under. I know exactly what I want the program to do, but I can't find the fucking command.
Exactamundo. That's just what I'm saying. Yeah.
Are you talking if you're operating in a DOS environment, Purple?
So this is
I'm
the
talking
card
about
scale.
under Windows that, even if I know what I want the program to do, I've got to find what menu and what submenu is the thing that I need to click on to get it to do it. I can't just tell it to, go ahead and do whatever it is that's needed.
So I'm an archaeologist, kids. This is a floppy disk.
Nice.
Oh, and I have a tape
the
too.
Ultima series?
I was more obsessed with like Barb's Tale. I was obsessed. Like I have the Hobbit for the Apple IIe, Oregon Trail, Reader Rabbit, of course. I smoked all those maps.
Those two maps over there. Those are cloth, and they came with the game. I miss when games came with swag. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
I've kept those since like the late 80s, and it's so cool to just have these cloth maps.
Exactly.
Or everything came with a manual.
Oh, exactly. Although you remember when copy protection used to be, what word is on page 25, line 12 of the, of the manual? That was kind of a pain.
Yep.
You are right. You did get a ton of stuff when you purchased something back in the day.
That's what I really miss is actually having user manuals. Anytime somebody tells me a piece of software is intuitive, I cringe. Because to me, intuitive means they were too fucking lazy to write a manual.
Oh, I have to get that Star Wars thing because Kate's here. I have to show off. I'll be right back.
To this day, I can't figure out how the frick Discord is supposed to be used. Like, I get the basic concept, but the interface has me flummoxed.
Discord is a big mistake. I mean, I like Discord and I use it, but geez, it has no sense of intuitiveness whatsoever.
It's basically IRC on steroids, but when you get like all these beeping notifications and no indication where they're coming from.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I don't use Discord.
Or understandable way to just get rid of all of them at once.
Yeah.
So when your parents tell you to keep it in the box, you should keep it in the box so you can sell it when you're older.
Wow. I mean, that looks like really dumbed down Battleship. But wow.
This is from 19. I don't even know the specs anymore. I'm not going to quote it because I don't even remember.
Well,
the specs
that's
anymore.
collectible just because it says Star Wars on the box.
That too.
And like I buy and sell stuff, and it's kind of rinky dink, so I've just kept it. Like this will be with me. They're gonna throw this in my box.
Well, like I say, just because it says Star Wars, you'll find some completist collector on eBay who will pay you a couple $100 for it.
Because I buy and sell stuff, the rule is always find a fanatic.
Hey, in keeping with the theme of the show, how have computers helped sex workers?
Oh,
have they?
Well, I think they certainly make it much easier for them to find clientele.
It's one of those things where it's just added. I'm sorry, it's taken away a few steps. So instead of someone having to go on the street, you can go on your computer and find anyone from literally someone on the street to a high-end person.
See, now I'm just picturing a website called rentahore.com, and my brain didn't want to go there because that just sounds really terrible.
It is probably real.
Yeah, wouldn't
knowing the internet. There's Ashley Madison. There's Ashley Madison. There's all kinds of websites where you can go get a sugar.
Okay.
Well, I know
Jenny's trying to say something.
I'm just offering another example. Chatterbait.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you can get it for free, but it wouldn't shock me if there's like, purchase someone to talk dirty to you online services as well.
Oh yeah.
Like the 1-900 number of the internet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are.
So it's gone to weird ads and enlargement pills. I do research all the time. I got you back. I do research all the time.
Boys really want to be that big.
I don't understand why
straight women want boys to be that big.
Men don't want men to be that big. Let's be real. No, you pull something out like that, I'm gonna tell you to get out. Get the heck out of here.
What about gay dudes? Do they want a giant guy?
No,
I don't.
Get out of here.
What the hell's the point? Someone's got to be that insecure about the size of their wang to do this.
It's society. They tell us that we have, people watch porn and they say, "Oh, this guy's wang looks huge," but it's relative because it's literally spatial perception. When that person's on camera,
6 to 7 inches and an inch and a quarter diameter is plenty. At least for me.
67 inches.
See, there's when people start getting like foot-sized dongs, I'll run. Forrest Gump style, gone. I am gone. No way. So to answer that question, it's one of those things. Some people are into it, not everybody. I have a ton of Star Trek stuff.
Yeah, I think what Sarah's saying here, that men assume they're supposed to be big, and most men have no idea what the actual average is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm just saying, like my experience is all with toys, but if something's hitting bottom, it might be too long.
And some people are into nightsticks and into the old, the old 6-cell D batteries. I'm just not one of them. I'm not kink shaming. I'm just
looking at that and thinking, like, if I was ever going to use it, it would have to be just a smidge more tapered on one end.
I keep flashlights around, and this is with 2 more batteries, this would be illegal in the state of California. Because California has laws for everything.
Oh, just getting the compressed air can for cleaning out a computer. You have to, if you want it mail ordered, it's apparently a controlled substance of some sort. And it's just a giant pain to get it outside of going to Best Buy.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have weird mailing laws here, too.
I wouldn't even want to try transporting that shit on an airplane.
Yeah, well, I know in Wisconsin, to buy a can of compressed air, I had to show ID. It was like, going to the pharmacy and trying to, buy the allergy medicines that they keep behind the counter.
Yeah.
They do that here, too. Well, it depends on what neighborhood you're in. Sad, but true.
Is there a huge black market for batteries? Because they keep those behind lock and key at the supermarket.
It's because they're easily stolen.
But I mean, okay, they're easily stolen, but do people do that? Like how big is the market for stolen batteries?
I asked that same thing about razors. How come I have to ask for assistance to buy a decent razor?
You do?
And at least here, you have to if you go to Walmart, you have to ring the bell because everything's locked up. And I live in the suburbs.
Got razors in locked cases.
And I live in the suburbs, literally white picket fence suburbs, and they lock everything up.
I want to throw out a test flag or whatever here. Batteries. Somebody brought up batteries.
Yes.
I have always felt that it's highly suspicious that whatever major brand of battery you're looking at, and there's 3, Rayovac, Everready, and Duracell, that they all always cost about the same, within a couple pennies or a nickel. Isn't that interesting?
It's kind of
on sale. It's always the same structure to the sales, and I think these people are in collusion.
Oh, well, it's same thing with fire alarms and heating and air conditioning units. They all say different companies, but they're made in the same factory. Challenge me on it. They all come from the same. Their interfaces are all the same. I think they do that for a reason, but like most industrial, most are made by Honeywell. So I agree with you, Jenny. I think it's a racket.
Good. Now I can hate the battery makers. There's two of us now.
No, a long time ago, someone pointed out to me that most interfaces for heating and air conditioning units look the same. And like, I did a little research, aka my job, and they are.
Well, some of that is just plain marketing. I mean, there are certain colors that you will find repeated in, say, movie posters constantly, simply because that's what attracts the eye. It's one of the reasons Blockbuster chose blue and yellow for its marketing colors, because those are just jump right the hell out at you. It's the same reason why The Simpsons have yellow skin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of products that literally are only produced by like 3 factories in the entire country, and they slap different brand names on them.
Absolutely. The whole air conditioning thing drives me crazy, because once I notice, it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So every time I go in a house, I'm like, oh.
Well, like you were saying about the batteries, that you'll see a lot of that, and if you examine them very closely, as far as you can sometimes find like machining or mold markings on them that can indicate to you which factory they came from. And you can find out that a lot of batteries, a lot of the store brands will be made by Energizer or Duracell, that will come from the same factory and just be wrapped in a different label.
Johnson Controls of Milwaukee makes many, many, many of the lead acid batteries you buy in the world. Douglas Battery. Have you ever even heard of Douglas Battery? They make all shitloads of batteries that we use every day, lead acids that we use every day. I agree with you, that they're all coming from just a couple places.
So really dumb question. Don't we have laws against monopolies?
I mean, technically, but there's how many loopholes?
Hey, I know. This was a dumb question.
Well, and we have laws against monopolies. We don't have laws against oligopolies, which are where there's a few companies. And Sarah brings up an excellent example here, that more than 80% of the glasses frames in the U.S. are made by just 2 companies.
Oh, I have standard frame. I have super standard frame glasses.
Yeah, but they put all sorts of designer names on them, but they're all coming from the same factory.
Yes, Luxor.
Did you say Luxor?
Luxor, Luxor.
Yep.
Is that like something from history or some shit? Because I almost guarantee there's a Vegas casino called that.
There is.
Yep.
I actually won $2,000 there and acted like an idiot because I'd never won that much money on a slot machine.
Hey, $2,000! I act like an idiot too.
It was my first big win. I was under 30. This was a while ago, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
I lost
like 10 times what I've ever won.
Like, maybe I should have let this go a long time ago, but I'm still mildly cranky with my mom. That time we were visiting my grandparents and went to the bingo hall. I got a bingo, and she was so excited. She grabbed my card and shouted bingo for me.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's just a little thing, but that's kind of selfish.
I'd
She
still
took your moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, there's that. I don't have a $1,2,000 story. That was more like 15, but still. Or $15, not $15,000. I wish it was $15,000. I could use $15,000.
I was a compulsive gambler until COVID hit. And I think after a while, I just liked going to Vegas for the buffets and the attention they would give me because, I'm Joe Schmo. I'd go to Vegas, and because I go there all the time, they treat me like gold. Yeah, Sadly, nerdy. I'm I'm 40.
Yes,
sadly.
he only
I
acts
want
like
to go
a
back to
child.
Vegas. It was fun.
Exactly.
My friend Tom and I were gonna go like a couple of years ago, but he got hit by a car. I mean, like he wasn't super damaged, but at the same time, it did put the kibosh on our trip. So
Vegas is a good place, like just to go to have people wait on you hand and foot. It's a good place to be pampered like once a year. It's just to feel important. Vegas will make you feel important.
maybe, I mean, because he's coming back from Italy soon and he's got a girlfriend now. So we have like companions to go on the trip with. So that'll be fun. And by companions, I mean friends in my case, because I don't have one of
maybe
those.
she's bi.
It won't, even from where you live, it's not that far of a drive. Because like where I live, it's like 3 hours, 3.5, 4 hours. It's like what, 5 or 6 hours?
I have no idea how far it is from here. I didn't look it up.
I was a total Vegas hound until COVID hit, and it made me rethink my life choices. It was one of those things. Like my son's with me Monday through Friday, so when his mom picks him up on the weekends, I'm like, well, what am I going to do with myself? Because I'm not old. I don't want to be a fuddy-duddy. I still feel young, even though I'm not. So I would go to Vegas.
I mean, speaking as someone who's 45, but who doesn't look it, I don't know. I'm definitely not a fuddy-duddy. I'm still a kid. Hell, I just ordered a freaking robot, for crying out loud. That's not something most adults do.
Exactly.
You're a cool toy monger.
Oh, I would make like the best maiden auntie. I guarantee it.
That's one thing I get. That's the one thing I indoctrinated my kid with was sci-fi. That's
actually something I've been mentioning a lot when me and Diana do our show, is that this generation, my generation, seems to be more in touch with their kids than most generations in the past ever have been. Just because we're into the same crap. Like, I mean, I'm sure fathers and sons had sports for a while there, but I mean, the fact that parents are watching like reruns of Buffy with their kids and their kids are totally into it, it says something about who we are now as people.
Oh yeah. With my son, it started off with Peter Parker, and I'll never forget the day. Like, I love Peter Parker. I bought him everything Spider-Man, and like, it's awesome. I have to watch because like he's into some of the things I'm into. Like he got into certain bands, and I'm like, be young, find your own bands. I listen to old people music.
I think it's really good that people are listening to like older music and also newer music. I mean, if a kid gets into metal, let them.
I took him to go see Sabathon. They came to LA, and there were fires and everything. And I picked him up from school. I was like, "Let's go," because they were going to close the freeway down. And I took my kid to go see Sabathon.
I knew it. I do have one of their songs, Metal Machine.
Sabathon, their catalog is huge. They make so many songs, and they're obsessed with history.
Okay, there's a band I was listening to for a while until I discovered that there's like secretly skinheads behind the scenes that did like metal covers of Viking songs, and that was really cool until I discovered they're horrible people. You just
described me and Norwegian death metal in general. All the bands I love don't like me.
Yeah. Have you noticed that like Nazis and skinheads make the best punk music? It's so unfortunate. It's unfucking fair that these disgusting people make amazing sounding tunes with absolutely terrible lyrics.
I recently got into a band. I'm not even going to say their name because I'm rocking out. I put them in a playlist, and then one of their video came out, and they're all wearing brown shirts.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, I'm in here like, no.
I mean, what is up with that? How does that happen that they're so terrible people and yet they make this amazingly good music? It's not fair, damn it.
Even like I've had this discussion with Godless Scummer a million times, but when I was younger, I really wasn't into the politics, but I listened to Pantera. The lead singer to Pantera is still throwing out Nazi salutes on stage.
Yeah.
Still, like there's a recent video in like the metal world slammed him, but like he was recently at Slayer's last show, standing next to Jason Momoa, to Snoop Dogg, to like, how come he wasn't throwing up Nazi salutes around all the black guys? You know.
I think I would blame. Well, the phenomenon that I blame is mashups or crossover music, and I blame the beginning of that with country rock.
I listen to Psychobilly. I love mashups.
As soon as you had rockers doing work with, like Marshall Tucker Band is the classic example. As soon as that happened, it gave permission to everybody else to do collabs with everybody else, and they didn't care who it was or where they came from, and so suddenly it's okay for Nazis to be popular.
Well, I will say that one of my favorite bands is Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and they do pop punk covers of everything. They actually managed to make country music palatable.
That's like Mojo Nixon and the Toad Lickers. I love Mojo Nixon.
Yes.
Okay, that name, though.
And event here. Tomorrow is Sloth Girl's birthday.
Oh.
Yay!
Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad your parents fucked.
You made it. You made it, Sloth Girl.
Happy birthday, Sloth.
Dare I ask how young we are?
Well, she said she'll be 55 tomorrow.
I can't drive.
She gave it away.
I didn't know
So
people lived that
basically
long.
what you're saying is your release date was 10 years before mine.
Now I have Sammy Hagar stuck in my head. You can write me a ticket going 185. Sorry.
You know, the thing is, I've never actually, and I know this is not Sammy Hagar's band, but I've never listened to Pantera. Like, I've just never had the need to.
So in the 90s, in the late 80s, early 90s, there was butt rock and like Faith No More. Rock was more established. And then Nirvana destroyed that whole era. And then, and then everybody had to be depressed, and all the more happy, slashy, like, Scorpions, all those bands disappeared because they were
so
so
Are you reading
popular.
my mind? Because I've said this sort of thing many, many times.
Can one of you youngins, or both of you youngins, explain Nirvana to me? I completely miss Nirvana, and I'm just really curious as to what's the deal. Why are they who they are?
I hated them, and I hated the 90s. I honestly can't tell you.
It was a depressed, heroin-fueled era. It was basically I don't even want to. No, I won't be mean. Like that era of rock. What would you call that?
They wallowed in pathos, is what they did. But I mean, the official name was what, like grunge,
Yeah, okay.
Garage band, and this, that, and the other. Back in the 90s, the only things I could find to watch that I enjoyed were like Roxette, They Might Be Giants, and Cub. Oh, and Showman.
I love it. They Might Be Giants.
Yeah.
I agree. They destroyed what was considered rock, and so all the record producers went out and found people who were depressed. And I like Soundgarden, I like Pearl Jam, but they just weren't my thing. I was coming off of wearing hammer pants and having a flat top. I was still happy.
Oh yeah, and after the neon and chrome of the 80s, the earth tones and depression of the 90s was just such a culture shock for me, and it seemed to happen so fast. I mean, imagine graduating high school in 1993 and then going to film school. I would like the sheer number of student films about Kurt Cobain's suicide that I had to sit through. Oh, you have no idea.
Oh, that's like me and Tupac.
Everyone I knew was listening to them, and I just was like, still high on Cyndi Lauper and Huey Lewis, for fuck's sake.
I like Cyndi.
Well, so do I. That's my point.
I miss George Thorogood. So that whole era was kind of destroyed. And, you know, again, it's record producers who had say. They tell us what we're going to listen to in the end. So they started grabbing all these depressed bands. And like I said, I like some of these bands. But like when I go through my CD collection, I only have like Pearl Jam and Who Sings Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden. And everything else is like from that era and after that era, you know?
Well, that's the thing is like there's a lot of ways to get independent music now, and a lot of people are getting into retro stuff and nostalgia. So if I want the 1980s, I just go to like New Retro Wave on YouTube, and every day they have at least one new like 80s style synthwave song.
So you literally just described what I do when I'm sewing. I'm obsessed with synthwave right now, and I have 4 old JBLs hooked up in this room to a Mac next to me. I geek out. I love synthwave channels. I totally.
If you're not subbed to New Retro Wave, you should be, because you'll love the crap.
I think I am. Let me check. Oh, see, now I love new stuff though. So now I have to check.
Could you tell me what synthwave is? It sounds like I'd like it.
Well, you know, it's anywhere from like Men Without Hats to like Depeche Mode.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's a lot of like synthesizer music, a lot of electronic stuff before electronic meant oons.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like EDM.
It's not EDM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is. I mean, EDM really started to pick up after what inspired synthwave.
I'm subscribed to the weirdest.
I try to convince young people I'm not an old fogey.
There's certain things where I'm like, this is really cool. Like I'm into like late 80s hip hop. Like I love the late 80s, early 90s stuff. A lot of other stuff I can't get into.
As far as my music taste goes, I'm even older than I am.
Oh, I'm still into Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller.
Now, see, I like soothing, calming music. I actually like 70s folk.
If I think of soothing and calming, my first thought is Enya.
So do you listen to like Jim Croce?
Jim Croce and Gordon Lightfoot.
I have a bunch of those records. I have a
I love
I have quite a few John Denver albums. Quite a few.
You people and I don't get along musically.
No, these are all. These are leftovers from like my family, and I'm a professional picker.
And nerdy, no, they stopped making music at the turn of the millennium.
Yeah.
You know, I will tell you, I was at Walmart 2 weeks ago.
Why?
And I had to get medication.
I was just being.
And I got offended. First, I got mad when they put Tupac on T-shirts. I was like, "This is not my culture. Is not your T-shirt." But that's a different fight for a different day. I was shocked that they brought vinyl back.
Oh, that's been a thing since forever.
I don't leave the house. I avoid people.
Many of my friends insist vinyl is so much better. It gives you smoother sound. I'm like, yeah, and it also gives you hisses, pops, and crackles.
Exactly. Like I love my VHS. I love my VHS tapes, but I have VHS more as a collector, and I do watch them. But I watch my DVDs and my I have a ton of Blu-rays now. You know.
I have a theory that people like vinyl. I do believe it has superior sound in terms of it's not losing certain elements between digital steps. But I think for a lot of people, what they missed about vinyl was the accoutrements of vinyl and the ritual of vinyl.
Okay.
You know, having just perfectly clean every album before you play it, and what is the gram rating of this arm and this cartridge, and
Is it well when you said
That's the kind
cartridge?
of thing that drives me right the frick up the wall. Like when people are, oh, I'm after the experience. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to hear the tunes. Yeah, it's like when I talk to some people about reading books and they're like, no, it has to be in tree pulp form. And I'm like, I just want the words, and my Kindle lets me carry around a whole library. And if I drop it, I don't lose my place. So, like, I don't need the pages. I just need the story.
You know,
And
I
when
used
people
to.
say, I need the experience of reading, and I'm like, it is so. I need a polite way to tell you to fuck off now.
I was like that until I got every Carl Sagan book on a tablet, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing ever." So I was a period.
I say to myself, I absolutely need the experience like that. Is when I'm reading, say, a graphic novel. Can't do that on Kindle. There's too much scrolling and zooming.
I love my audiobooks. I don't even want to take the time. I mean, I'm a very, very good reader, but even a speed reader. But I would much rather just listen.
Oh, see, I have a problem with that because I read a lot of sci-fi fantasy. And so if the person reads an audio book pronounces a word that only exists in that fictional universe in a way I don't.
I'm in the middle of Hitchhiker's Guide again.
Yeah, I love audiobooks just because, I'm somewhat dyslexic, so reading is rather a chore to me. It's not something I can really enjoy.
I'm obsessed with sci-fi
I want to do
books.
a plug, if I may. Is okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Do what?
Make a plug. Audible books are amazing. I got involved with them, I think, because I bought a phone, okay? And I haven't paid for a book since. They keep giving me these credits, and I turn in 1 credit, I get 1 book. And I've got like 6 credits sitting there waiting to buy books. And they don't go away after like 30 days or something. They're on your phone, they're there. And it's amazing. All the books that I've been getting.
Just
cool.
real quick, I'll be right back. I got to use the facilities.
Yeah, but do you have Han Solo's Revenge?
Yeah.
I don't.
What Mage is
I'm
saying
giving you a
here,
hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time.
what Mage is saying here is something that I worry about, that like Amazon will drop the book in the middle of me reading it, partly because it can sometimes take me quite a while to get through a book.
Same. You'll laugh at me. Is this the book? This isn't. A Call to Darkness. Is this the one? I still have not finished this book. I'm like 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah. Okay,
I do the same thing.
An audiobook with videos is called a movie.
Oh, you killed me on that one.
Yeah. Mostly I got to really love audiobooks when I had a long drive.
I would, as a kid, my parents would drive to Mexico every summer, and so I became obsessed with audiobooks. Absolutely obsessed.
Especially when I had a long commute in city traffic. It helped keep me calm with all the idiots in the traffic.
That is so. I did this social experiment, aka life. I used to drive around and listen to Slayer and like speed metal and death metal all the time. When I stopped listening to aggressive music, it literally changed my way of driving. I would listen to classical. I would listen to Bach, or I would put on the local classical station. I would walk into work happy.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally agree, and I think a lot of the road rage really can go right back to the shock jocks on the radio.
Well, I can't listen to classical music. I find it too busy and not regular enough. No, I'm serious. It's like it's almost like listening to improv jazz, where they're just sort of circling around a theme. I tend to prefer more chorus verse with my music.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like orchestral music when it's, say, movie scores.
I love movie scores. Absolutely. Yeah.
Here's something I want to share. you are an employer. I used to be an employer, and I found two things that absolutely rocketed productivity in the shop and easily paid for the cost of making it happen. Air conditioning and jazz. When we stopped playing rock and went to jazz, productivity went up 15%.
Oh,
I know what you're saying.
Just not the smooth jazz, because that puts people to sleep.
Well,
holy Kenny G, Batman.
And people stopped yelling at each other.
Well, as long as it's not John Tesh. John Tesh makes me want to cry.
That would honestly, playing jazz like that would have driven me right the frick up the wall. I can't jazz, and I do not get along.
We go at my shop. We do classic rock. And another thing, like at 40 years old, even as the boss, because everybody used to work for my pops. Like so I'm one of the youngest people there. People listen to classic rock. It's a respect thing because not everyone's into sports, and so like my thing is like you can listen to sports radio, but respect the people around you. You know.
Quick favor, define classic rock for me.
Like I'm gonna say KLOS, like your regular radio station.
That's not helpful. The problem is that classic is a moving target.
I agree
like
because
these days, someone might even say 80s is classic rock versus 70s, 60s, 50s, whatever.
So this brings up a whole point. I'm driving to downtown LA. I'm in the car. I'm listening to our oldie station that plays like Frankie Valli, plays like the old stuff. They played Nirvana. And I'm like, in the freeway, I'm like, this is not effing oldies. Like, I'm sure the person in the car next to me was like, ooh, that guy's having a bad day. And I was like, I had a meltdown like a kid. I was like, this is not oldies. So you're right. It's relative. It's like Led Zeppelin. A lot of, they play like a lot of AC/DC. It's a lot of like, popular rock from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And not even 90s.
80s is in there.
Hey, baby, have you heard the news?
80s should not be classic yet. 80s should just be awesome.
I agree. No, I 100%. I agree with you. I always say if you remember it, it's not an oldie.
For me, it's classic.
That's my thing.
It's classic music if the artist is now over 60.
See, like I obsessively listen to Faith No More. Okay.
Yeah, for me, classic rock is Centrozoic.
I mean, think about it, you guys. Mick Jagger is still out there performing, and he's on his way to 80.
Oh, Snoop Dogg's gonna be like that. Snoop Dogg promised to be like that.
Oh, I love Snoop Dogg.
Ringo Starr is still performing. How old is he?
He's got to be in his late 70s, early 80s. He's just got to be.
Yeah.
Alexa,
those guys, I know
how old is Paul McCartney?
Older than me.
Paul McCartney is 78 years old. He was born.
Thank you, Alexa. Alexa, thank you.
Paul McCartney is 78 years old.
Alexa, thank you.
You bet. Have a good morning.
I love Alexa.
Well, one of the robots I'm considering buying, because there are a few, actually has Alexa built in. And so you can ask it questions and it'll answer you, things like that.
The A word is awesome. It's just if you say the A word, it's going to start talking to you,
Oh, right. Sorry, that A word.
I have my headphones in. So if I say the A word, it's like, how may I help you? Having a robot servant's weird.
Oh, the A word is Alexa.
Oh,
yeah.
But when I say robot, I mean something actually mobile. Like, I mean a genuine robot. Like not just the little Alexa puck that they give you. I mean like actual robot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like coming out in
absolutely.
August. I pre-ordered. It's $210, and it's 2.0 robot that was already awesome. So.
Ooh. I love stuff like that.
Yeah. There was another one I was considering getting, but to use some of the advanced features, they make you like subscribe, and screw that.
That was like before I got decent VR. Like a lot of the old VR makes you do that. Like, oh, you have to subscribe to this to watch this, or it just wasn't my thing. I rage quit on my VR set. Tell you the honest truth, my son plays with it. He knows what he's doing. He has more patience. You know, Nerdy, the A word has limitations, and so if you say certain things to it, it will ignore you.
Oh,
it has boundaries. You can't curse at it. You can't, like, if you say something derogatory, it'll just go boop boop.
Well, you know, the thing is, I mean, I have Alexa built into my Kindle, obviously, and I've asked Alexa some pretty prurient, let's say, questions. And, you know, she would answer.
I have an 11-year-old son that has ASD. He runs in and screams at Alexa. And Alexa's like, I'm not having any of this. I actually like it. It makes me laugh.
My dad loves to use the speech recognition on his phone for like text messages and stuff. He won't actually type anything in. And so while he's doing that, I like to lean over and go like, purple monkey dishwasher. And it's only picked it up once. It has picked it up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dishwasher? What?
Purple monkey dishwasher. It's a reference to the Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
Like there was one episode where Bart tried to start a rumor using like the telephone game where he whispered to someone in a crowd and they kept whispering, and eventually it gets to the end and they say the message, except somehow purple monkey dishwasher had been like appended to the end of it. And so that's kind of become my go-to nonsense now. I
like it.
That's like I say holy smoke Bullwinkle because I heard it on Stargate. And it's one of those things that it just comes out now. Whatever. Holy smokes, Bullwinkle!
Well, that's a reference to the original Bullwinkle series.
Yeah, exactly. It's on one of those off. I'm a sci-fi geek. It's on one of those off season 3 episodes of Stargate.
You know, I have that on disc. I should probably watch it again. It's been a while.
I take years off
streaming somewhere, so.
They just put Stargate on Netflix, at least in America.
Yeah, there's rumors again about them making another series, but those rumors pop up every couple of years, so I'm waiting to see if anything comes of it.
Okay, so I'm going to say this.
A lot of things where they've made like new versions or sequels that have come out way the hell too late, where I'm like, you know, I kind of wish you hadn't.
Yeah, from what I've heard of the most recent one, though, they're actually getting a number of the original cast back, and it sounds like they're trying to do a thing of passing the mantle to the next generation.
Oh,
you know, they make fun of that.
Although I'm kind of tempted to see how they do it with Ghostbusters 3. If that comes off well, then who knows? Maybe Stargate can do it.
Stargate makes fun of that, actually, in one of their, like, I think it's the 200 episode. They make fun of themselves. They're like, oh, why don't we just recast it with younger people? And then they literally did it in Stargate Universe, which had an awful cliffhanger for the end of season 2, which was basically the season finale. Like, as a complaining sci-fi geek, I will not be satisfied if it does not open up with them looking for the Destiny ship, because that was the whole thing. They tied all the shows together with Stargate Universe.
I don't know if I saw that.
SGU, it was like they made it edgy because they thought that's what people wanted to see. So it was less Richard Dean Anderson and more like let's hump in the closet and
I'm tired of
shoot people.
Yeah. Save me from edgy entertainment. Like, I mean, if there was more variety, you know, I'd be a lot more okay with edgy. But again, bringing us back to the 90s and beyond, edgy became like, you know, the order of the day. You couldn't find something. Like, I might have enjoyed The Expanse if anyone on that show ever laughed.
I agree. See, exactly. That's my whole beef with SGU. It wasn't on par. Even in Atlantis, they had goofy tropes. Atlantis got serious, but they had goofy things in there because it was still Stargate. It was still like campy RDA kind of jokes, and SGU just became gray and depressing in space.
That's one of the reasons I refuse to watch the new Galactica as well. Is just they had to make it dark and gritty and grim and edgy, and I'm like, where's the fun?
Yeah.
So
thank you, Kate. Thank you.
I agree with you, but I'm absolutely obsessed with the newer version. And yes, I have seen all of the older versions. So I've seen all of them, but I have a soft spot. And in the newer version, they kind of like at the end of it, they kind of tie into the whole Broca divide. They kind of like they tried to make it a little bit newer. I know you're biased. I'm extremely biased myself, so I get it. Cylons shouldn't be CGI, right?
Well, no, it's not even that. I mean, number one, when you remake something, stop feeling the need to like piss in the soup until you like the flavor better. You know what I mean? Where it's
exactly.
We had to change the uniforms because it's a new series. Oh, we had to change the design of the Cylons because it's a new series. No, what Cylons shouldn't be is human looking.
Yeah.
And, disguised as humans, not sure they're Cylons, et cetera. So that's such bullshit.
But skin job is such a cool derogatory term.
I don't care. They used that in Blade Runner. They stole it.
I know. Yeah. And it's a show that was on in the BBC too. It was called Skin Job.
Always appreciated the Cylons, their size, the chrome nature of their armor, and that light going back and forth. It was just it was like the coolest robot thing or warrior thing on TV at the time, and it hooked me.
Yeah, well, just them being so, big and bulky and, reflective and highly visible made them seem more intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. The thought of a 8 foot, 9 foot robot, again, I would run Forrest Gump style.
What I really didn't like about Battlestar Galactica was when the human beings started collaborating with the Cylons and was like one of their leaders and stuff. How can you be so stupid as to be a traitor?
But human beings,
a race that is programmed to kill us.
But why are there people? If in any group you will find someone who is the minority who hates the rest of the minority. Look at someone like Blair White, Rose of Dawn. Tommy Sotomayor, he goes off about people of color. It sounds like he doesn't even like people of color, and he's a black man. There will always be serial contrarians and people who are against the cause. Well,
I don't know. I just don't like the whole I don't know if I'm actually human nonsense. That gets old so fast.
I always say, and this has been my thing with being on YouTube lately, I get tired of having to prove to people that I don't know, that came out terribly. Yeah. Well, you're constantly having to defend what you are and who you are. It's like coming out all over again.
Well, no, I get what Kate's saying, as far as in a fictional universe of maybe having one or two characters who are questioning if they are what they think they were is fine. Having it becoming a running thing, no.
Well, and I don't know. Forget it.
See, but it's really funny because I was staunchly anti-remake, and then certain things would come out, and I'm like, oh, I like this. Everyone hated Discovery. I think Discovery's all right. I liked it. Season 3 was amazing, and they didn't have one Klingon in it because people complained so much.
Well, so that's another thing. That's what I was saying is when they decide to remake or reboot or whatever, and they change the visual look of everything. I mean, I have to wonder: are you trying to piss off the fans? And I mean, I realize you want to make it fresh for the next generation, blah, 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 but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you have a built-in audience that doesn't necessarily want shit to change. Like, you remember when there was that big kerfuffle over the fact that they're making Ariel black in the live action? Little Mermaid, and a lot of people objected, and everyone said, "Oh, you're racist." And I think really no, they just don't want their nostalgia fucked with. I mean, because goodness knows when they start gender and race flipping characters, I'm pissed off about it. And not because of what they did, but the fact that they did anything at all. The things I love shouldn't change like that. Make something new. You know, if you're going to change it that much, make it original, make it your own.
No, I completely agree with you. They did the same thing with the Green Lantern. They did it with Captain Marvel. It's to appeal to certain audiences, and they do alienate the people. You know, I always say this, like the 12-year-old has to go ask their parents to go buy something. I'm old. I'm going to go buy it. So they should be catering to me.
Well, there is that.
Because I'm the one who buys it.
Thinking, like, you know, they didn't have to make Starbuck a woman. They could have made one of the female characters already, Sheba, maybe, just so much cooler. They didn't have to change Starbuck to have a strong female character. And they also didn't have to make Starbuck a jerk either. And it's the same thing with, like, Doctor Who. If you have to have a female Time Lord, make a Romana spinoff. You don't have to actually make a female doctor. That you didn't have to do that.
Did they just switch the character in the new Galactica, or did Starbuck have a sex change?
No,
they just flipped the character because it was a total reboot is the thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's other examples like that where it's just this change was unnecessary. But even more, like when they take white characters and make them black. I've talked to black people who've said, we don't want a black version of your pasty white boy superhero. We want a superhero who's always been black. And I said that, like, even before I heard black people saying that, I was saying that to my white friends, my white liberal friends, all of whom said I was being racist.
You know what, honestly, as a black man, I'm tired of virtue signaling all around. That's my thing. Like, don't tell me you're gonna do it because you want points. Either do it or get off the pot. But my thing is let's take race all that out of the equation. CBS destroyed Star Trek, and I'll tell you why. They put it behind a paywall because they know that Trekkies are fanatic. They're cultish, and they know we'll pay for anything. If they had Star Trek toilet paper, we'll pay for it. They are ripping us off.
Star Trek toilet paper.
Exactly. They are ripping us off. Yeah. Picard was, my DMs are open. Come at me for that one. Picard was okay, but they waited too long. Lower Decks is amazing.
I wanted to see that concept taken seriously. Like, I've been advocating it for years to see that taken seriously. I didn't want a comedy, and certainly not in the Cal Arts style.
I've always...
You just doxed me. I can walk there from my house.
Give Johnny a chance here.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I think there's a lot of situations where the character is suddenly changing. I'm thinking specifically right now of the Black Ariel. I've never seen Little Mermaid. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if race has anything to do with the character or not. But it's when it happened, it seemed to be in response to a societal push, and it was kind of like Disney says, "Okay, look at us. See, we're okay.
In a way.
Look what we do." And that Hollywood does that a lot. It's like the last Academy Award. It was blatant that they went out and specifically solicited black films and black filmmakers, which is fine, but it's why didn't you do this on your own 20 years ago?
Exactly.
Okay, but Mage, the point is that they don't need a Superman who's been race flipped or gender flipped. We don't need that, and the people they're doing it for don't want it. So what's the point?
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm of a certain age where I'm tired of remakes in general. Honestly, make new movies. If it's a flop, it's a flop. People are scared to fail.
I do have to say, Captain Marvel is hot as fuck. I just love her.
Well, make me pull out. I like her better with the fro.
On superheroes pretty hard, like just from oversaturation. Like there's just been too many superhero movies at once. I wish they would exercise a little moderation. But so I never saw Captain Marvel. Like these days, if unless it's Deadpool or The Incredibles or maybe Big Hero 6, chances are good I'm not watching your superhero movie. TV shows, maybe a different matter. I actually enjoyed The Boys. That was like nicely twisted. Not enjoying MODOK though.
My most favorite superhero movie to this day is the Wonder Woman. I know she's DC and everybody hates DC and loves Marvel, but that I never liked the TV show of the Wonder Woman because I just thought it was so poorly written. But that first fighting scene that she was in, where she's charging the lines out of the trenches and stuff, I got so emotionally invested in that. I just cried. It was so thrilling and cool and hopeful and powerful, and I just got completely lost in it. It was amazing. Are we talking
about the same Wonder Woman?
What's her name? Gal Gadot? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up the one I saw, but the one I saw, like, they tried to hide who the bad guy was, and it was just so patently obvious that I'm like, this isn't a well-written movie. The one that came out in 2017, that one? Oh yeah, there's the name, Gal Gadot, sure, yeah. No, I found the story very lacking.
Yeah. Well, I tend to be oblivious, so I miss kind of subtleties like that.
Well, it wasn't subtle at all, but okay. I mean, it felt like a bat to the face. That's how obvious it was who the bad guy was.
I don't remember having that feeling, but maybe I should watch it again and see if...
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
it's a madhouse over here. It's a madhouse over here. Oh, got that echo again.
But I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, what superhero movies have I actually enjoyed? I know I have a few on my shelf. Really? Well, let's say recent ones, because I really do enjoy Christopher Reeve as Superman.
I've recently been rewatching those. Am I the one with the echo?
I think so.
I don't know why.
I have been watching the new Superman and Lois on the CW. It's pretty good. They've brought in new elements, like they're married and they have kids. But they're handling it well, and it was kind of surprising.
Actually, you know what I really enjoyed, believe it or not, was the Supergirl series.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like is that they made Jimmy Olsen black, and they could have made that character anybody. It didn't have to be Jimmy Olsen. I'm not objecting to the character. I really like the character. It's just not Jimmy Olsen. He's not even nerdy. Like if they'd, gotten an Urkel type, okay, but they didn't. They made him like this tall, confident guy, and I'm like, that's not Jimmy Olsen.
I never watched that.
I have not seen the new Superman thing you were talking about. But I'm just going to take a guess that they're going to have kids, and one's going to have his powers and one won't, and they'll make it into a Bewitched remake.
Yeah, and they flipped the one who you thought would have powers didn't, and the one who you didn't does.
Of course, they had to gender flip it because that's what they do today.
Oh no, they're both boys.
Oh,
but the one who has powers, it turns out, is I forget, ADHD or autistic or both.
Oh God, that's all we need is an Asperger's superhero.
Well, something along that spectrum. It seemed. I don't recall if they were really specific about it.
Yeah, you're not making me want to watch it.
Youth and stuff, and takes medication and blah blah blah.
One thing I really would love to see, and they've kind of half done this, but they haven't done it for realsies, is a supervillain who wins. And as a result of winning, they suddenly realize that ruling the world involves a shit ton of paperwork they don't want to do. They're like, I thought I was just going to sit on a throne with a scepter, but look at all this administrative bullshit. All these special interest groups bugging me. Why did I want to rule the earth?
Yep.
You know, and I mean, like they had a movie, what was it, Mastermind or something?
Megamind.
Sort of, Megamind, yes. Where he had to create a new superhero to fight because he got bored. It's not quite the same thing, but every time I bring this up, people recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm visualizing Lex Luthor trying to pull his hair out with paperwork problems.
Well, you know, religious.
Megamind was awesome.
Lutheran. If I ever become religious, I'm going to be a Lex Lutheran. That's
Ooh.
That's like I always say, if I'm gonna become a rapper, I would be the Notorious B.O.C.
Nah. Okay.
Notorious.
Oh, well, you know what drives me
The
up
Notorious
the wall?
BLT.
Like,
No, the Notorious Body of Christ. That would tick off everybody.
oh, you said BOC. I thought you said POC.
Oh, that's my accent. I talk funny.
Oh. Well, okay, one thing that drives me just right up the wall about the term POC is it's too close to POS, and I'm always afraid I'll type the wrong one and get in a lot of trouble for it.
Yeah. I'll definitely get you judged.
Okay. Nerdy's asking, are gods superheroes? I've gone the other way around. I think superheroes are gods.
Depends
I
on
think
the
comic
superhero.
books are modern day mythology.
I'm going full
I
SG-1.
think Nerdy is asking about in universe are gods superheroes rather than in general.
Well,
Like, I mean,
in the Marvel
Thor
universe,
is a
they
god, and
definitely
Thor is
are.
clearly a superhero kind of thing. You know what I mean?
In the Marvel universe, they definitely are, because besides Thor, they also brought in Hercules and the whole Greek panthos at one point.
Oh, Loki has been featuring rather prominently. Even I know that.
Isn't Loki
have
getting a?
coming up?
Yeah, exactly. Same, Jenny. Same. I think he's getting a show, or they're all getting shows because they have all these new services now, and they have to fill the air.
Oh, I'm so
I think
sick of
Loki
that
is
too.
really, really.
So there, and that goes back to what I was griping about CBS. Like, I pay for, and you can make fun of me, I pay for actual cable, like actual television, because I'm obsessed with hockey, and I have the hockey package. So I have that, Netflix, Paramount Plus now, which used to be CBS, Hulu, the PlayStation 4 network for my son. You know, I every time they're like, oh, get a new service, I'm like, no. I'm tired of paying for a new service every time a cool show comes out. Oh, and I have HBO Plus. It's ridiculous.
There was a time when you could just not have cable because everything was on Netflix. But then when every TV network decided, oh, we have to have our own pay service, it's like, you know, I'd rather have a streaming service with commercials like television than I would one I have to pay for.
Exactly. Oh, and Doctor Who did it as well, because I would obsessively watch Doctor Who on Netflix, and the BBC figured out they could charge us. They took Absolute Fabulous off. They took a ton of shows off of Netflix.
God, yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of British stuff is hard to find now. Like they took away Faulty Towers. Red Dwarf hasn't been streaming in like 5-8 years.
That's because BBC hooked up with Acorn, and now it's all on Acorn, and you got to pay for everything.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I mean, I'm, you know, I always say, oh, I'm obsessed with sci-fi. I love Doctor Who. I buy VHSs. I go out of my way. It like Star Trek. They know that, like, the fans are saps, and they know we'll pay for it. Ridiculous.
Well, of course, they just don't really care. But,
exactly.
You know, my rent went up. Okay, and so suddenly I have to piss out another $45 a month that I don't have, and so I had to go through all my online enjoyances and start deleting stuff. You know, so I had to drop all my Patreons, which bothers me because I want to support folks that are doing good stuff online.
But you have to help yourself, though.
Yeah,
well, and I mean, that's me out. I don't do good stuff online. I do just stuff.
Now I'm going to have to dump Netflix because I just can't afford it. So I'm going to be stuck to watching on-air broadcast. That's it. I can't afford it.
Come hang out with Jen and I. We watch movies all the time. All the time.
Online, you mean?
Yeah, just in like on StreamYards. Not we don't go live or anything. Like we call it date night. We hang out and we just we watch movies. Like she had never I had never seen Black Hole, the Ernest Borgnine movie.
Oh, jeez.
She was like, "What?" She had never seen Lower Decks, so we show each other sci-fi that we've never seen before, or just movies in general. And we are the only two people on Earth that are into Blake 7. So we watch it together.
I've been meaning to see that. Like, I saw one episode and I thought it was good despite the really primitive special effects. I just, like, I haven't gotten around to it.
Okay, saying you're the only two people on Earth into Blake 7, you have just slammed an entire fan base.
Nah, I'm kidding. No, but Jen was the first woman I've ever met that even knew what the show was and had watched it. So when I've
never even heard of it.
It is from the 70s, so most people don't know it anymore. But
well, one of the hilariously bad things about it is the spaceship special effects when it flies by. It's literally a colored-in Xerox of a spaceship.
And on the older seasons, you can see the strings on certain models.
That's what I was gonna say.
Everything that they have is reused from Doctor Who. So there's a monster in the beginning of season 4 that quite literally is from the Pete Wee era, from the John Pete Wee era. It's the same monster. I gotta look that up.
And the weird thing is that in the early Doctor Who's, virtually everything they had was reused.
Yeah, exactly. The BBC, they were pumping out shows, but they were cheap about it.
Well, basically, up until Tom Baker came in, the Doctor Who was produced on such a limited budget that they would literally tell them that, okay, we're doing this production that's going to be set in the Old West, and you'll have 2 weeks to use the sets after we're done. Write a script for it.
In the Revenge of the Cybermen, Tom Baker is on a space station, and there's with Sarah Jane, and there's this silver monster thing that's supposed to like grab your neck. It's literally a sewn silver plushie, basically, and they're like wrestling around with it. And every time I see that, I laugh. I literally cannot have a drink in my mouth because and that's supposed to be their like top tier show was Doctor Who back then,
for
a very long time, in fact, until Star Wars was a thing, sci-fi was treated with utter contempt in like Hollywood and other places. They said, oh, it's just something for kids. It's cheesy. It's not meant to be good in any fashion. I mean, that's one of the things that unfortunately happened to the Superman movies, the ones with Christopher Reeve, is like, what was it? Donner wanted to treat it seriously, and then the studio came in and took it away from him and said, this is for kids, it has to be a comedy.
So you don't like the Richard Pryor one?
Oh God, no.
No, I don't like the Gene Hackman one either.
That would be all of them.
I fell in love with.
Gene Hackman is in all of them. Maybe not 4, but he's in 1 through 3.
Well, I definitely didn't like his character at all. It was not the Lex Luthor I was remembered from my kidhood watching or reading comics.
A couple of months ago, I have a box set of VHS. I watched all of them, and when I got to the Richard Pryor one, I was like, you know what? When you're a kid, you're like, oh, it's just a movie. When you're older, you're like, wow, this is cheesy as hell.
Well, I have to admit, I've had a hard time getting into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and especially the Guardians of the Galaxy, because
really?
I identified with the comics from the 80s. And the Guardians of the Galaxy from the 80s didn't even have any of the characters that are in the ones in the movies.
Okay, so
I
read the Star Wars Legacy books, and the second they came out with Rey, I almost felt like throwing my books in the trash because they completely bypassed an entire book series, So I know.
I'm still pissed off that Rogue One was not about Rogue Squadron.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, and
yeah, I think that misled all the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, I knew before I watched the movie. I was just still pissed about it, and then the movie turned out to be so fucking bad. So there's that too.
I think they They just try too hard. It goes back to the remakes. They want just to have the spaceships in space with the helmets, and they think that's all they need to have a movie. They actually have to have substance. You actually have to have it.
I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a well-written movie that I really enjoyed. I mean, there have been a couple. Okay, you know what? Bumblebee. I think that was the last one.
Okay, I agree because it was 80s style. They did portray the era properly.
Well, and the way I've been describing it, it feels like watching E.T. if E.T. was a giant robot that could turn into a Volkswagen.
I did like that. You're right. That was one I sat through the whole movie and didn't like get up 15 times.
Hey,
well, I mean, I was like, because I watched the Michael Bay Transformers movies and thought they were just crap. It was like, oh, gee, look at what you did to my childhood, right? So I avoided Bumblebee for the longest time because I thought it was just going to be more of the same. But I was on an airplane. In fact, I think it was on the way back from Faithless Forum. And I saw the option to watch it, and I said, whatever, fine. And I watched it, and I was practically in tears the whole time because I was like, oh my gosh, someone made a movie for me. For the first time in something like 15, 20 years, I feel like someone made a Kate movie. I was so happy.
And they didn't, I liked it too. I liked it.
Oh, and when the touch started up, I nearly died.
Okay, what, Jenny?
I was just wondering what time you got.
It's almost 2:00, and I probably should wrap this up soon.
See, I hate asking because I know you always say that afterwards.
No,
right. Well, this whole time I've also been working on some animation stuff. I've been working on shot number 181 of Quinn Redshift for like 2 days.
Awesome.
It's a big, huge scene, too. I mean, it's like set in a bar, and so there's all these people chatting and drinking beer and walking around, and this is like a wide shot, so I have to have like 12 characters doing shit. It's such a pain in the ass. It's fun, but it's a pain in the ass.
You've been working on that scene like a year, haven't you?
Well, not this shot or this scene, actually, but I've been working on the animation itself for about 2-3 years now. It depends on where you draw that line. I've been animating for 2 years, but I've been building like models and sets and shit for at least 3.
It's really good. All your stuff that I've seen is really enjoyable.
Thanks. Yeah, I cannot wait to show this thing. It's going to be like, I don't know if it's going to be impressive, but it'll be like, finally, I put out this labor of love that I've been working on for so long that it like, the more I watch it, the more I realize I'm just making a movie I wanted to watch.
Okay, well, why don't we go around the table here and chill out? So, Kate, obviously, Queen Redshif's the big thing you've been working on. You have anything else coming up?
Probably not. I planned on working on the Head Meets series, but the more I worked on it, the more I realized I was losing touch with Quinn Redshift, so I decided to focus on Quinn. When that comes out, I will continue the Head Meets. I also have another like couple of ideas, and I have to decide on one for a larger project. Actually, I wouldn't mind feedback on the choices I've got, but maybe not now. So yeah, I mean, I really just expect a lot of tech demos until I put out a trailer for Quinn. And when I do that, what it indicates is that everything is done. I'm just going through making sure like there's no big errors and refining the sound and all of that. So
yeah. Well, I could see you know, like if you did teasers for a couple of different things and then did like a poll on Twitter for which one you should make into a full series.
Well, I mean, given how much it takes just to make the sets and the characters for something like that, I can't.
Well,
it's not practical.
Not if they're all CGI, but I thought you had other sort of things that weren't as intensive.
I should, but I don't.
Okay. So, Jenny, where can we expect to be seeing you?
Well, I believe Be Mindful is going to be having a show tonight, and I'll be on that. Or is that tomorrow?
No, I think that's tonight at 7 would be, her drunken history.
Okay, yeah, I believe I'm going to be on that, but I'm not sure. And then of course tomorrow night at midnight, your Mid-America midnight chat. However you name it, I don't know. And although I missed Friday night the last couple weeks, I'm going to do my best to be on it this weekend. I was just too damn tired. I've been going to cardiac rehab, and they're really beating the crap out of me.
Yeah, for movie night Friday nights, I've been missing it lately too.
I only just started rewatching it. For a while there, I divorced myself from the atheist community entirely, and now I'm getting back into it a little, so I resubscribed. And Friday night was fun this week.
I would just like to also mention that I'm really pissed at the cardiac rehab people, because those son of a bitches have actually made me start to enjoy exercising for the first time in my life. And it's actually doing good, and I just hate them for that.
I'm trying to get into a routine. In the building I live in here, they've got a treadmill and an exercise bike upstairs. And just I've been warned that part of the thing with the hormone therapy is that there does generally be a loss of muscle mass and the redistribution of fat, of course. So I'm trying to get myself into a routine to make sure I exercise at least 10 to 15 minutes every day, just to try and deal with that.
Yeah, you're still going to turn into a wuss. We'll see.
I have rollerblades, and I got a hockey puck, and I play hockey just to keep myself in shape.
Yeah, well, I just know for me that if I'm going to get into a routine like that, I've got to do something that can be done indoors. Otherwise, in the winter, it's going to come to a stop.
Sure. I recommend virtual reality. There are some awesome VR sports out there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should look into that more.
Do you like things like Dance Dance Revolution?
Well, I can't dance. I can't keep a beat.
I love
keep a beat. Then my suggestion was gonna be Beat Saber, but just based on the name.
Yep. So, okay, Will, what have you got coming up?
All right. It's been a while. There's been drama. Hold on. I gotta. Hi, I'm Godless Sewing from the Godless Sewing channel. You should go subscribe to the Godless Sewing channel every Thursday. Jen from Jen's Little Corner, Kitty, the Empress of Hell, and myself. We have the What the Fuck show, and we just talk about life, and it usually just turns into this. Every Wednesday, Maddie from Science Side Up, Sam Chaos, and myself, we have a podcast called Pub Religion. We're an atheist, Christian, and a pagan walk into a bar. It's always fun. That's on Sam Chaos's channel.
I love that.
And if I forgot you, I love you anyways. And wear a mask and don't be a dick and all that other stuff.
Okay, well, between Will and Jenny, pretty much already shilled out anything that I'm likely to be on. Mix up the shills has now moved to Saturday evenings at 6. Tomorrow evening or tomorrow night at midnight, we're going to be doing a show on surviving abusive relationships. So that's going to be like heavy trigger warnings for everyone. I'm sure that's going to cut the audience in half because it's a topic that a lot of people just are going to have a lot of trouble dealing with, but it's something important that we need to talk about.
I think it is because it's one of those things where the cycle never stops.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware of it, you're going to continue, even there's actually someone right now, I made a stream about Kwame Brown. He was abused by the system, but it doesn't give you the right to turn around and abuse other people.
Yeah.
So it's a good topic.
Yeah, I just, I want everybody to be aware of what they're coming into before they tune in for that tomorrow, because, I've already had a couple of people message me privately saying that, they're not going to be able to sit through that. So, okay, well, on that rather somber note, I'd like to thank my patrons, Von Rick, Junie, Ox, Robert X, Mikey Famine, the Lavender Lady, and Greg Hartwick, who continue supporting me on this. And with that, I will bid you all adieu. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.